Welcome to Mojo Talks, where we explore the world through stories. I'm Mayur Channagere, visual storyteller and your host. Today's conversation is something completely different from what I've done so far. The guest today has known me all my life. He's been a mentor, he's been a guide, he also is a photographer, he's a writer. More importantly, he's a financial guru. The reason why I say that this is going to be a very different conversation because this is a conversation not between Mayur and him. It's a conversation between a mama and a bhanja. So today's guest is Srikanth Bhagavat, who is the MD and Chief Advisor at Hexagon Wealth. And we will be talking a lot, not just about finance, but about life. It's going to be about rides, about photography, about creativity, and a lot more. And somewhere we'll try to bring in a bit about finance. But the conversation today is all about life. Srikanth Mama, thanks for joining. I know it's a very long introduction, but you deserve it. You've known me all my life. It's a long due conversation. I think this was something which was planned when Mojo Talks took birth about a year back, and we were supposed to do this, but finally we are. And welcome and thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me on the show, Mayur. It's a privilege, no doubt.
Awesome. So I want to jump straight to it, right? like I said, you've been my inspiration for photography, for writing, and all that. And I know you are a very avid rider. And the first camera that I started photography with was your first camera, which is right behind you, and which was my grandfather, your father, Tategaru's camera, which started off. So I just want to kind of start with your initial journey, when you started off photography. And I remember when I was not even interested in photography, you having conversation with cousins sitting around looking at those black and white prints and admiring them and talking about shadows, about lights, about the technicalities. And I would just sit there like, what the hell are they talking about? And today it's become my livelihood, it's become my nirvana, it's become my zen, it's become everything. How did you get into photography?
Okay. I was wondering, you were giving so many descriptive words about me, and finally you got to saying that I'm mama. That is what matters, right?
True.
And I was so happy to see the two cameras, my camera number 1 and my camera number 2 here. And it made me very nostalgic seeing those. Because camera number 1 was something I was using way back in 1977.
The year I was born. Wow, okay. It's almost close to 50 years old.
Yeah, 1976, 1977 was when I started experimenting with that camera. And it was just there. And my mother would give me 10 rupees every month to go buy something. Okay. That was like pocket money. Yeah. Okay. And believe me, that 10 rupees was very valuable. And I think thinking back, that itself was a stretch to give me 10 rupees a month. And I would go and buy books with that 10 rupees. So every month I would go walk down to a bookshop at Dadar TT and pick up a series of books called How and Why.
Yes, I
All right.
remember those books.
I think you would remember, right? Those amazing books with lovely illustrations talking about science. And one of those times I picked up something on photography.
Okay.
And that picked my interest in this. And this Kodak Brownie was lying at home, and it uses a 120 format or a 620 format film.
Yes.
So I went and picked up a film out of that $10 one of those days, loaded it up, and started.
Awesome. The advantage of the Brownie also is that you don't really have to worry too much about the technical aspects of it, right? The aperture, the shutter, and stuff. It's more or less like a point and shoot kind of a thing. So that did that kind of give you more mind space to compose and tell stories and not worry so much about the technical aspects?
In the beginning, one is not worried about the technical aspects. We are not worried about f-stops and all that. And we just want to point and shoot. We want to record what is there and see how it comes out.
Correct.
Correct? And that was the fun of it. By the time I really got into composing nice pictures and putting more soul into it, I had moved to the Yashica FX3.
FX3, yeah.
That gave me a lot more space to do what I wanted. But the period before the Yashica FX3 came into my hands, I did so many things with the Brownie. Okay, it was not just taking pictures, but I was even inspired to have my own darkroom.
Wow, I didn't know this. Okay.
Yes. So my darkroom was a quarter the size or 1/10 the size of this room. It was a storeroom in the apartment. And that storeroom would get converted into a darkroom when I wanted to develop film. So it wasn't that I was taking great pictures, but I was going the whole hog with it. I was taking the pictures. I had a developing tank.
Okay.
I would develop the film. I didn't have a printer, but then I would do it on bromides.
Bromex. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I would create bromides as long as they lasted. It was fun. And later I even bought a printer and enlarger.
Oh, okay.
And it was that huge machine, massive one. And I just enjoyed the entire process of shooting and then carefully developing it without spoiling the film. Okay, if we didn't get the chemical mix right, then the film would warp and go bad, and then nothing you could do about
Nothing
it.
to do about it.
So there was some amount of zen in that, if you may call it, in getting that chemical mix right, developing the film just for the right amount of time, removing it, washing it, drying it, and then looking
and
at the
actually
picture.
see the
Yes,
picture come alive. Right?
picture come alive.
So here I see two things. One is your passion for telling stories through photographs, and also your love for science.
That's right.
Both kind of combined together.
Yes.
Coming together is
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Again, this is a question I ask a lot of photographers who started with film or still shoot film, and which this generation or today's generation might not really know. The joy of waiting for days to actually develop it, right?
True. Very true.
And the joy of holding print
Yes.
is something that no digital can come close, isn't it? One of your fondest memories of those prints, the first time when you saw something come alive, what was that?
Right. I think the first few pictures that I was very proud of, okay, apart from the Brownie, was when I had moved into the Canon A1 system. Really speaking, because I could really control depth of field. I had learned rather to control depth of field by then. And I was taking portraits. So I was fascinated with taking pictures of people. And those portraits, I think, revealed a whole new world to me. Okay, one, I realized how I could change light to paint different pictures. And how people look different in each light.
The same person with just a little bit of shadow
Yes.
can give you a complete different sense of who they are.
Exactly. And then every picture gave a certain depth to the person. These were all people I knew. So I knew how to sort of what kind of look I wanted already. So it was a little easier, if you may say, rather than shooting a stranger. But I think those pictures, when I enlarged them and kept them, even now, I look at them with pride.
I think I know which
Okay.
pictures you're talking about, but yeah.
All right. Those were some of the amazing pictures. And then another set of pictures that I remember with great fondness is my first trip into the Himalayas as an adult. Okay. My first trip into the Himalayas when I was 5 years old, so I didn't even have a camera in my hand. All right. But the subsequent one where I was in college and I had the Yashica FX3 with me, and we went, me and a friend of mine went trekking towards the Annapurna base camp. That was my first trip into the Himalayas, trekking It was heaven. It was like all my dreams come true. And the vistas that you see in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
Okay. In those days, of course, there were far lesser people than there are now on these trails.
Yeah.
And such beautiful. Just spring was just coming around. It was not yet spring. It was pre-spring. The snow had melted, and we were seeing the rivers flow so beautifully, prettily. The flowers, the rhododendrons. And the rhododendrons framed against the snow of the mountains, they created such lovely pictures. And when I got back from, and of course, that was one. That was the nature, and Kathmandu was fascinating. It was the epitome of being exotic. All right, in those days at least.
Back then, not today.
Not today. Okay, and at that time, for me, I had not seen something more exotic. I would see more exotic places later, but at that time, it was the markets in Kathmandu, the scenes, the sights, the smells were wonderful, and those pictures. And I think I sat there at the top of the steps of those temples and took pictures of the marketplaces and the squares. And even now, I wish I could
go back to that moment
and take more such pictures.
Interesting. You mentioned sitting there. One was the visual aspect of it, but then you also mentioned the smell.
Yes.
I believe that especially when it comes to shooting or capturing places, all your five senses have to be active.
Yes.
Isn't it? And then when you finally come back and when you look at those pictures, the memories that you have is not just of that particular moment, but it's all that, the sound, the hustle bustle, the smell. It could be rotten tomatoes to the bhujias there, but it's all that comes together.
Yes.
And then it is not just about photography, right? You also kind of love riding.
Yes.
And you kind of combine both together.
Yeah.
Well, I remember you always been a rider. You had a RD back in college.
Yeah, not an RD. It was a Rajdut.
Rajdut, sorry, not RD. Yes,
Yeah.
you had a Rajdut back then.
Yeah.
With long hair. Yeah.
Different days.
Different days. But you somehow managed to combine both, isn't it? Riding and this thing. But what is the commonality between photography and riding?
Very interesting. Okay, I must go back a little when you spoke about all the senses being alive. One of the turning points for me as to how I saw photography was this. This was one of my later trips to the Himalayas, and I was there beyond Badrinath at a wonderful spot. My camera failed.
Oh.
Okay, the battery ran out. I didn't have a spare. My battery ran out, and I could not record any of the pictures. So what did I do? My senses were alive, and I decided to write. What I saw, I wrote. Instead of describing it in a photograph as a picture, I decided to write it down in words. And that was a revelation in itself, that I did not have to record it as a photograph. I could record it in different means with all my senses running alive. Okay.
You didn't have the distraction. You didn't have the you were not pressurized to capture that moment before it disappears forever.
Absolutely.
But be present.
Yes, and that was more immersive. And I'm no longer in a hurry to take a picture. I'd rather enjoy the presence. And I know I can still communicate the essence of it in some manner or the other. Need not be a photograph. Wow. It could be a verse. It could be a descriptive, a narrative. I'm still happy. Okay.
And I think that you just about described what photography for me is also, right? I mean, it is that. We are always in that hurry to. There's this question that constantly gets asked: compose or capture? Live in the moment or capture? I always say it's live in the moment. Forget about capturing it. Forget about this thing, because when you come back and describe that scene, the emotion that you would have felt at that moment is one.
Yeah.
But when you come back and you recollect and go back, you might have a completely different meaning to that particular moment.
True.
Right? And that is what life is about. It's about looking at different scenarios in different ways, analyzing the pros and cons, and then every time you get a different meaning, a different answer to what they say.
The commonality between photography and writing is what you were asking me.
Yes.
It's a very difficult thing. I've never thought about it till you asked me today. But I think that was because it was a natural progression. You see, the kind of photography that I would like is places, sights, sounds, okay? And certain kind of romanticism that is attached to it. The same romanticism is attached to being out on the highway by yourself, looking at new places, but you and your machine are one with the road, and there's nobody else around you. You may have other riding partners, but riding is something that you're still doing by yourself.
It's deeply personal.
Very personal, and all your senses are alive.
They better be.
They'd better be, exactly. They had better be alive, or we are in trouble. Correct? So we are alive. We are truly alive when we are on 2 wheels, not 4.
Not 4 wheels. Correct. Yeah. And you had, like you said, all your senses have to be sharp. Because one, you're on 2 wheels. Your reflexes have to be good. You should be aware of every aspect that's around you, 360 degrees.
Yeah.
The roads, the traffic, the curves, everything, right? But at the same time, it also, when you're on the bike and you're completely geared up with the helmet on, it is just you and the hum.
Correct.
And the rubber.
Yes.
Right? But one thing that I've also realized is whenever we have ridden, there are a lot of bikers who go in big, large groups. And we've always seen that it's from point A to point B. Right? But when we ride, it's never point A to point B. We take a sweet time. We stop, sometimes for nothing.
Yeah.
Just pull over, you see a nice green field, you just pull over. I think that's how riding should be. It's not be in a hurry, not be in that thing, I got to reach a certain point. Yeah. And that sense of freedom, I don't think any other form can give you.
No. It's probably a cliche to say so, but it's all about the journey.
It is.
It's not about the destination.
It's not about the destination.
So if you're thinking point A, point B, then that's not the right riding partner for me.
No, never. And if we were to talk about the longest that we have done was our Bangalore, Kolhapur.
Yeah, Ganapati Pule.
Ganapati Pule.
The Konkan coast.
Konkan coast.
Yeah.
We covered about 750 kilometers in
a day.
Yeah. Right? And we stopped. We took our breaks. And even when we reached there that evening, we were still fresh.
True.
We were not tired. We went, visited the temples. The experience there was something totally divine.
True.
The crowds. And I think that is what it is, right? It's end of the day is like if something is going to stress you out, there's no point in doing it.
True. Right? True. So I on one of my trips on the motorcycle, okay, and I was fortunately in a group of 6 other riders, all similar age, and our guide, this was in Rajasthan, and we were on, at least unlike the others, I was on my Harley, okay. And our guide says, let's go into the desert. And out of the blue, at 6 p.m. when the sun is setting, we go off the highway into the desert. Okay. Man, I'm on my Harley. It is not meant for desert riding. And that experience was nightmarish. Because, number one, okay, I did not know how to tackle the desert on a heavy motorcycle. Number two, it was...
the guy didn't know.
The machine was not meant for the road. You need to be equipped for that kind of a road. And I was skidding all the way through.
Oh my God.
Okay, so you try to run it, the vehicle sinks into the sand, you need to know how to manage. So after some time I got the hang of managing it, that how to not release the clutch entirely but keep it on some amount of hold so there's traction and you're able to move. And that was only by the time it was the return part that I figured out how. Till then I had skidded my way through. Okay, and thankfully it was sand and we were in protective gear, neither the machine nor me got hurt in all that skidding. So it was learning without getting hurt. Okay, but how you manage the clutch on the sands is what is eventually critical. And I came to know how to do that towards the end of that trip. So yes, you need to be equipped. Okay, and you need to learn with less damage.
Learn with less damage, and the most critical thing, you need to have the right guide.
Yeah, here the guide did not do anything in teaching me. It was all learning by myself.
No, he wouldn't. Maybe if he knew what was going to happen, or if he knew the path, he wouldn't have led you in that.
Yes. No, he knew, but he did not probably care enough that our machines were not made for the desert. Okay, it was co-riders that helped and said, this is how you manage your clutch, and this is how you can manage the sand. Okay. And in the same trip, I learned a lot of things, by the way. Okay, it was a big 2,000 kilometer tour of Gujarat and Rajasthan. Amazing, I'll never forget it. The vistas, the experiences. And the other experience was in the same trip, we were staying in the Jaisalmer fort. So the Jaisalmer fort has a living township. It's a living fort. So it has a beautiful township inside, and one has rooms where you can stay in the fort. Okay. Wow. So you are going up. It's a mountain fort. So you have to ride up to the top. And you're riding on flagstones which are hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Wow.
Okay.
And
remember, hundreds of years old there means they're smooth. They're polished through time. And you don't get traction.
God.
So I was going up the curve. It was like a hairpin fort road. And I had to stop because somebody else had stopped in front of me. And when I put my foot down, my heavy riding boot had no grip.
Oh, God.
I was slipping back, and neither does my motorcycle have traction, nor my my boots had any traction. It was such a challenging one. And in the middle of the challenge, I see one doodwala scurrying up on a scooter happily. And here I am on my fantastically engineered machine trying to gain traction. It was a funny sight thinking back. Okay, but then I also learned, the laws of physics as to how I should manage my front brake or the rear brake. Okay, so which brake to use up and which brake to use down, I learned. Okay, through the laws of physics. But then later on it was fine. But we always learn by slipping and skidding and falling.
As long as you're learning. As long as you're learning, I think
it's always something new that we have to learn in these places.
What's next? Where do you want to ride? I know. A conversation off camera, which we will have about me not joining for many of the rides that you keep calling. But where do you want to go next?
So in the last few years, I have taken my motorcycle, or I have ridden all the 4 parts. Okay, I have gone down. I have ridden in Ladakh, which is the northernmost part of our country. I have gone to the eastern coast at Tranquebar. I have gone to the western coast, whether it was Ganapatipule or the Konkan coast or Goa or further down Baindur. I've touched that. I've gone right down to the south to Dhanushkodi.
Yes.
So I think, and some of these journeys you were part of my trip, right? When we went to Tranquebar, we were together. We did one trip to Dhanushkodi together.
South and the Konkan coast were the two.
Yes, and the Konkan coast we also rode together. So some of these journeys we did together, which was so beautiful, right? It doesn't matter where, honestly. I just like to be out on the road for days on end. It's not a breakfast ride. It's not a morning to evening. The excitement of packing your saddlebags, putting them over the motorcycle, tuning it for the trip, planning it out, pulling out the map and saying, which are the places I'm going to be today, tomorrow, day after, and day after that. Okay. Planning out the pit stops, planning out the destinations. Where are we going to probably eat? Where are we probably going to drink? Where are we going to stop for the night? What are the sights we are going to see? Okay.
Correct.
This excitement can only come out of being on a long trip out. North, south, east, west, doesn't matter. What matters is being out there.
Being out
On
there.
your machine, on the road.
But that's how life is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, you plan the journey of experiencing different things,
Yeah.
the pit stops,
Yeah.
the people that you meet,
True.
who become part of your life in some way or the other,
Yes.
lessons learned, and not stressing about it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
So some of these journeys were with you, and we did these Mama Bhanja rides.
Correct.
Okay, that was to Dhanushkodi and Karaikodi, which was
Karaikodi,
fantastic. And then there was another combination where we both rode, and my son also accompanied
Sushen
me.
joined, yes.
Sushen joined, okay, as the third
Konkan
rider.
coast, yeah.
Okay, and we went the Konkan post and some of the other
Kundapur
trips I've done
and-
with him. And a very unique trip, which I again cannot forget, was the Ladakh,
With
which
Dhruva.
I did with my younger son Dhruva.
Dhruva.
Okay, he doesn't ride, but he rode pillion. So
Yeah,
in a sense,
he's happy sitting and
and
letting
experiencing
experience-
life in that manner. But that people tell me I was nuts to do that alone.
You were.
But I did alone. Alone in the mountains, in the Himalayan ranges, when you're riding alone with a huge, cliff faces in front of you and the steep valleys on the other side, and there's nobody before you, there's nobody behind you for miles on end. You're one with nature, and you feel the awe of it,
You feel the awe,
and sometimes the fear of it.
the fear of it, and sometimes you realize how small you
Yes.
are, or insignificant.
Yeah. And it is those, the landscapes of Ladakh clearly make you feel that very quickly.
Very quickly.
Because it is not a friendly landscape.
It's not.
It is no way friendly. It is awesome in the sense of awe-inspiring and at times scary because of the scale. You're seeing the big brown, there's no greenery.
Yeah.
It's brown.
Brown.
Thousands of feet of brown up and thousands of feet of brown
Brown
down. Okay. And you're on a narrow road, negotiating the curves all by yourself.
Just hoping there's no traffic on the other side.
Correct.
No truck on the other side.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did the same trail, Ladakh, from Manali all the way to Ladakh and this thing. But, of course, I was in a four-wheeler. But whether you're in a four-wheeler or a two-wheeler, the way you described it, the fear, the you're stuck by the awe, beauty of it. But then there is that, when you look, especially mountains, and when you're there, it just kind of calms you down.
True.
And that there are moments where you're just sitting there doing nothing, and just a cloud passes, and the shadow of the clouds on the mountains, the way the light changes.
True.
Nothing can
Yes.
capture it. It has to be experienced.
It has to be experienced. No photographs can really capture the essence, the beauty, and the mystery of these places. Everything is fabulous. Even the variation in shades of a mountain is fabulous. A field with the wind blowing through is awesome. I don't know if you remember, we were riding to Kolhapur, and the sun was just setting, and we had light coming in at an angle. And after the sugarcane fields, we had these fields of jowar.
Jowar.
Right? Tall. And the white flowers.
And then just that.
sunlight. Right? That is the beauty of the journey and not the destination.
Correct.
Right? And there was no photograph.
I was just going to say that. There was no photograph. We didn't even bother to take photographs. We just
Soaked in
slowed down. We didn't speed. We just took it in.
We just took it in.
Right? And now, of late, that is what is happening. many of the times I just don't feel like taking a photograph
Yes.
or whatever. Everything aside, just want to soak it in because that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's an experience that cannot be described, cannot be shared. I mean, it can be shared to an extent, but what emotion that you go through at that point, one has to feel it.
It has had to be felt. Or that stretch of road near Dhanushkodi, where it was a narrow road and the ocean on both the
Both sides. Oh, yes.
Okay. And that was one of the most awesome stretches that I've ridden through. Right?
True.
As you go through both sides ocean. And they're not far away. It's a narrow road.
Narrow road. I mean, you can literally touch them.
Yes. And to go through that, stop, experience it. That you can only do when you're on a motorcycle.
Absolutely. And even one is the ride part of it, but even the travel, right? Like when we were in Karakudi,
Yeah.
we had parked the bikes, enjoyed this beautiful breakfast or brunch in this place.
Overloaded
ourselves with food. But then when we walked around Karakudi, it was a different, eerie kind of beauty.
It was a sadness, if you ask
Sadness,
me.
yeah.
You felt it too.
Yeah, it was sadness. I mean, everyone talks about going to Karakudi and those mansions, the architecture, and the influence and all that. But for me, it was not that. You're right. It was that. Like, that's why I said it was an eerie kind of beauty of sorts. But there was so much sadness.
How can you not forget that moment we went to do that huge villa, which was so beautiful? There was nobody inside except for this very, very old lady.
Fragile lady.
Washing her vessels there in one corner.
And living in a corner in her kitchen.
Yes. And her family was the owner of that massive property. But there was no wealth.
No.
There was no joy. The joy had escaped. It had gone away. The wealth had flown.
Wealth might not have flown, but their priorities changed. Maybe their priority was to multiply wealth and money, the greed that you spoke about, at the cost of relationships.
Here, sometimes it happens at the cost of relationships, but here it was a whole community, the Chettiar community, who were fantastic business people. They were financiers of the first order.
Correct.
They made their wealth out of funding wars. They made their wealth out of funding the British themselves. Okay, we were a colony of the British. And they ended up funding them. And wherever the British went, they went
traveled.
to funding the operations there. So the Chettiars funding operations were across Southeast Asia.
And some parts of Europe.
And maybe some parts of Europe. But when the British Empire collapsed, they collapsed too. Okay, and suddenly they did not adapt. One, the greed took them to such an extent where everything was concentrated. They did not realize the risks they were going into. Okay, and they did not know how to adapt. That caused the downfall. Of course, some of the families continue to be very wealthy, but there's so many who collapsed. That is the sadness that they are of a wealth of a bygone era. So if you, the sadness comes in because we think there was something there which is lost. For somebody who has not gained, not lost, there's no sadness.
There's no sadness. True. Or even, our ride where, we got a chance to meet.
Okay. So the sculptor.
The sculptor, yes.
Right? This was amazing, right? Yeah. We wanted to meet him. I only knew his name. I had no idea where he was.
And this was before he became famous or he was even known.
Correct. Before he became famous and known. I was trying to meet him. He was not picking up the phone and I had no address.
He did.
All right. And we were coming back after the temple in the night. And we just, let's go into that lane. Out of the blue. There no card. Let's go into the lane and see what is there. And we go into that lane. At the end of that lane was the sculptor.
The sculptor.
What is that but a miracle?
Miracle. It has to be a miracle. I mean, it was dark. It was late.
Yes. There were no signboards.
No signboards. We just took a chance saying, okay,
Let's check out this. We went in and we found him, and what an amazingly sweet person he was. He took us and he was sculpting the world's biggest Nataraja.
Nataraja at that point. Yeah.
Right? He showed us that.
Again, we spent considerable amount of time, except for that last one selfie with him. We didn't even bother to take anything else.
Correct.
We just experienced it.
It was an experience
It was an experience.
which we'll never forget. All right? The joy of having found him, met him, and he took us so joyfully through his entire workshop.
And he actually walked us through every aspect of it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, in terms of how many, even the Nataraja, he said how many times he had to recreate, destroy it.
Yeah.
The metals didn't work, the composition, rework on it, and showed us so many other things. Right?
Eventually, we read in the newspapers later
It was him.
about the world's biggest Nataraja
Nataraja,
idol that
correct.
was installed. Okay, so that was Swami Malai.
Swami Malai, right. Yes, that was Swami Malai. Right.
Kumbakonam and Swami Malai, and that was a wonderful trip
Yeah.
of experiencing temples
Temples.
on a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle,
Yeah,
having food with the
with the Purohits.
Purohits, the
At
main Purohits.
Chidambaram.
Chidambaram.
At
Yeah,
Chidambaram.
Chidambaram.
What an experience.
What an experience. Sitting, having food with...
We never expected it, but then the Purohit took us home, and how can we say no
So we
to having
can-
lunch with him? And he sat us down.
And the
served us lunch,
hospitality.
and the hospitality, the love with which the food was served. We can never forget.
And they didn't even take a penny.
It was only out of love.
It was purely out of love.
Yeah.
There are a couple of questions I have. But I see that lot of this, what you talk about, also kind of flows into your philosophy of life, and also kind of flows into what you do at Hexagon Wealth. We'll come to that in a bit. But then you said you also write. What is a trigger point for writing?
Oh, that is such a difficult one. And sometimes I'm forever in search of the trigger point. I have to find my mojo at times.
True. No, I mean, see, we all talk about creative blocks. We talk about writer's blocks. But sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it doesn't. You force, the words don't come out. Or forget writing. Even, sometimes when you have to talk, it just doesn't happen. Sometimes it just happens. Why do you think that is?
Okay. I think it's something that is outside and triggers that outpouring from inside. Okay. So for me, the earliest point was, if you probably took out those Kathmandu photographs, behind every photograph was a note. Yeah. Okay. I'd written down the postcard size photograph would be filled from top to bottom about my experiences of that site, how I got to be there and why I was there and what I experienced there. So I believe they're called blogs today. Okay.
They're called captions, and not even blogs, they're captions, the Insta captions.
Correct. So that's how my postcard size photographs were filled with back in 1980, 81, etc. All those times. Okay. So it's obviously what I saw overpowered me. And when the experience overpowers, it triggers something in you where you react. Okay. It loosens up something and you want to express. So it could be those. Keeping those postcard blogs aside, I was not writing, but I was writing poetry. Okay. So whenever I would read something about something which deeply impacted me, I found that I would like to express that in terms of some kind of emotion which came out in terms of verses. So for a long time, I only wrote poetry. Okay. And I don't think that poetry can be called formal in meter and rhyme and rhythm and all that, but there were still verses which had some pattern to it.
Okay.
It was only much, much later that I started writing articles, blogs. Okay. And these found expression in the form of Zen now.
Okay.
Okay, a series of blogs that I write whenever I am deeply impacted by anything. Of course, much of Zen now is colored by the fact that I'm a financial advisor, I'm a planner, I'm a wealth manager. So whatever I do, I can't help it. But the wealth manager in me takes precedence and colors whatever I write today.
Correct.
Okay.
But see, those articles, again, it's very interesting to see, read those articles, right? It's not gyan. You always find these interesting ways of describing financial terms using everyday stories. For example, one of my favorite stories is how you relate financial planning investment styles to dosa. Right? I mean, I absolutely love that. Right? And I think that's what makes it relatable. See, today we have so much of information. There's so much of gyan out there. Right? Everyone's talking technical, but 90% of people are not technical. If you can explain something very simple in a very relatable manner, your object. And now here you're kind of beautifully combining your financial acumen with your life experiences together in that. So, but you said you write, you do this, but it's not always the case. I know for a fact for the last couple of years, your schedule has been so packed and you had a major block.
Very true.
And we all go through that, right? Especially in the pace of life that we are all in. We all have that. And we rarely find time to do what we want. But something changed. So you want to talk about what was going on, you want to share about that, and then what changed the last couple of...
Yeah. Oh, yes. Glad to bring that out. I've been struggling to write like the way I would write. And I would keep my diary open, get my favorite pen out, nothing happens. I shut the book. I open my laptop, open a page, try to type out, nothing happens. I would shuttle between laptop and note to see, hoping that one of them would
come out.
Nothing did. Nothing did. And then I was supposed to write an article about my experiences with my spiritual guru, Baba. Okay. And for 2 months...
For his centenary.
For the centennial part. And for 2 months, since I gave my consent to be contributing that article, I couldn't write. It was horrible. And eventually I went to Prashanthi Nilayam at Puttaparthi, and I sat there and I simply surrendered to him. I speak of surrender often.
Correct.
Okay. But at times, though we know to surrender, we don't actually surrender.
True.
Okay. And that surrender sometimes comes out of desperation. Okay. And here the deadline was passed. So you can imagine the desperation out of which I cried out to Swami and said, please tell me what to write. And tuck, the thoughts flowed in. And there is not even a split-second gap between the prayer and the thoughts flowing in. So I know it is him who's putting the thoughts in my head and saying, Srikanth, this is what you should be writing. And at the end of it, I'm so grateful that it is not my thoughts. I'm only an instrument there. Okay? But as an instrument, if I have opened up and surrendered, then he would give me the ideas. And he just told me what to start with. And that is always the issue with me. Once I know what to start with, the rest of it flows. Okay? I went back from darshan. I didn't do anything else. I opened up my laptop, started writing. And I didn't stop till I finished the article. I had 1,177 words. I didn't even want to edit it because I knew that the thoughts were pure. I just corrected the grammatical typing mistakes that were there and sent it off. But a barrier had been broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 barriers.
And, yes. The next barrier broke when I decided to give me enough time for me to space out.
No. So we'll come to the space out part. But here I see two barriers. One was the writing barrier that you overcame with, right? The second barrier was that somewhere down the lane, you forgot that you had to surrender.
Yes. possible. So there is something that our lips say and something that our heart does. And very often I emphasize on this, that what we think and what we say and what we do should be in sync. Is it not? And this kind of coming together, harmony, unity is what will give you balance. Okay. So even going back a few sentences, when you spoke about me combining riding and writing and work, so I'm fortunate that all these converged for me.
Very few people can say that.
Okay, so it's a matter of great fortune, which is why I can be happy every day with what I'm doing.
True.
All right. So the same kind of convergence has to happen in the other places. So surrender has to come from deep within. Maybe it was not coming from deep within. Okay. So,
Before we go there, define surrender.
all right. It is something that is like swimming. It is difficult to put in words. Okay. As they say, you can't learn swimming by watching. You have to jump into the pool and learn to swim. So the same with me. I had to learn by experience how to surrender. And then I realized the joy of surrender. And it's not just a joy. You have let go everything.
Let go everything. Yeah.
And why should you be stressed out? Okay. So, so yes, that relieves me a lot of stress. Even then, we being humans, we tend to get stressed out. We still think everything is on our shoulders. We think that we are the ones who are meant to do, and we stupidly still get stressed out. Okay.
Very true.
Maybe over time I will overcome that also.
Like you said, that's being human, isn't it?
That's being human. We have to let go of this humanness eventually. So surrender is to understand that actually there's a higher power who's directing you, okay, and who's truly the wind beneath our sails. We should not be under the impression that our achievements are ours. These achievements were because somebody blessed us with these achievements. We just happen to be.
We are just a mere instrument.
That is it. Okay. So it took me a very long time to understand why people romanticize so much about Krishna's flute.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
The flute gives out such beautiful music because it is hollow and it has surrendered to Krishna. So Krishna's breath flows through the flute and the music comes out. The flute doesn't do anything.
Very true.
Does the flute move? Does it do anything at all?
No.
It just has remained hollow to receive his breath.
Beautiful.
Okay. So we need to be like that. But we need to be.
We need to be. We just cannot say, let him do it.
No.
We have to do our part.
We have to do our part and then let it be, which is also in a way we are talking about focusing on the process than the outcome.
Correct.
Throw the outcome to the wind. Let it be to him.
But we got to put in our effort. We got to plan. We got to do all that. But we have to put in our effort so that we reach the desired output, not our desired.
We do not know.
Not
you
our
said
desired.
It, not our desired output. Correct.
It's not our desired output, but the output that is supposed to be, which is his will.
Correct. And that is how the same thing, if you talk about process, it flows into my work. So the philosophy has to be all pervading.
True.
Whether it is personal life or professional life, the same philosophy has to pervade.
It's the same. Because end of the day, whether your personal life or professional life, who you are reflects in everything.
Yes.
And as long as you are genuine, you're authentic, and you're not putting a facade, it just becomes so easy to live because you're not leading a life trying to be something different from who you are, isn't it? And that makes it so, you can breathe.
True.
Fantastic. No, so since we were talking about surrender, we are talking about your Puttaparthi experience. So both of us have had that privilege of being close to Swami or getting a chance to know him through Amama Tate Garu and before that. But for me, personally, though had a chance to visit Puttaparthi multiple times, be very close to Swami. The true essence of Swami is something which I realized much later in life. But what was that first moment that you realized?
It's tough to say first moment because it was a very gradual.
Okay.
I put my toes in the water when I was a kid, and I went into the deeper end of the pool so gradually I never realized I was at the deep end of the pool, and he was helping me float. Okay. It is a very gradual process. So I can't say there's a black and white, but there are some very defining moments where I realized that I had to surrender. Okay. So why did I even want to surrender to him?
Yeah.
Is a question.
Yeah.
All right. And that first experience of surrender was I wanted to give up my smoking and drinking. Okay. I was a social drinker. That was not much of an issue. But I was a smoker and I wanted to give it up. Not because of health reasons.
Okay.
Yes, I knew it was
Bad.
but at that age, we tend to disregard the health aspects of it at that young age. The true reason why I wanted to give up these two addictive habits was because I knew Swami didn't want them to be in me. If I wanted to be closer to him, if I wanted his love, if I wanted to receive his love, I knew I had to give these up. Otherwise, I would not be a devotee worth the name devotee. Correct? A devotee is only when you're following all the teachings of the Lord. So if I'm still following these habits, I'm obviously not a devotee.
True.
So I had to give it up. And I tried and tried and tried. It was okay. I could give up alcohol. That was not a difficult one at all. But giving up smoking was very, very tough. I tried, and like Mark Twain went on going back to it over and over again. And it rattled me to no end. That I could not give it up. So one day I was, Swami was at the Vrindavan ashram and he was in Trai and darshan was over, and I was sitting on the bench outside Trai and I just cried to him from the bottom of my heart that I don't want these. You gave them to me, you take it back. They're not mine. You take it back. It's yours. It's your headache. And those tears that flowed out of desperation, that prayer, obviously reached him because that was the end of my addiction.
Wow.
I never had the inclination to go back to them again. Okay. So that was, I don't remember, 25 years back maybe, whatever. But I've never had the inclination. I'm out. Okay. Yeah. That's one. So that was a permanent de-addiction. So that came out of surrender, which is when I realized the value, the importance of surrender. And that surrender was because I wanted his love.
Yeah.
So his miracles, his love are all ways of us to give up what is undesirable in us and move closer and progress spiritually towards him.
Total surrender again.
Yes, that was an inflection point for me as far as getting rid of some of these bad tendencies.
See, over the years, you've been, we've seen so many things that the Sathya Sai organization have been doing from Swami's time under this thing. But one thing that Swami always spoke about was service, which is seva. He said, do seva, doesn't matter what form. And that is something that it's become part of who you are today. And also not just you, but also part of Hexagon.
The Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization is the most amazing organization that I have seen. And it is engaged in many types of seva across the world, across different classes of people and different types of seva. Okay, one cannot even imagine the amount of seva that happens quietly. The essence of seva here is to progress spiritually. There should not be any difference between the giver and the receiver. Okay, It is the same Paramatma between the giver and the receiver. The same Atma is there between the giver and the receiver. We have to realize that the Lord is there in both of us and then act as instruments. So what happens in that process? It is saying good riddance to ego. All right? And that is the true reason why we should engage in seva. And being part of an organization with so many humans, okay? The moment you have more than 2 or 3 humans in a place, there's politics.
Yes, true.
And if there are 5 humans, there are 10 opinions. So how does one navigate this, keep our focus, and do what is right? And for me, that was a learning experience. So I have done the wrong things, learnt, and I'm hopefully on the right track now. But all that cleaning up happens only through seva. How to get rid of ego, how to get rid of anger, how to learn to accept different views and work with different views, keeping a focus on that one important objective all the time.
All the time. Mama, I just want to take a pause here, okay? We've spoken about photography, we've spoken about our rides, about life lessons from there. We spoke about Swami. We spoke about all these things that have shaped us, shaped you, right? So I just want to take a pause here, and we'll come back in the next episode where I want to dig deep into.
Today, if a youngster came to me and asked for advice on what to do with the first year salary, it would not be the same that I told you. Attitude to money in our later life is always a result of our upbringing. And it begins to worry them. Do I have enough to carry on through my post-working life? If they don't have the skill set when they are graduating, they are irrelevant to begin with. Because with the advent of artificial intelligence tools, people may find themselves irrelevant at 25. When you start eating the masala dosa, you don't know where the masala is. But you have to keep going through it.
Mind you, this is not a Hexagon Wealth podcast or a sponsored podcast. The reason why I say that is because a case study on Hexagon Wealth itself is a life lesson. So we will come back, hold that thought. We will come back and speak more about all this in our next episode. Till then, keep your mojo alive.